It's been a while since I've looped back to the Hammerhead KAROO bike computers to get up to speed on the more recent feature updates that they've rolled out. Look, even if you don't own a KAROO unit, it's definitely worth knowing what they're up to with features and functionality. Now, this unit here, the good old KAROO 1, huge unit, is no longer getting any updates. So the updates shown here today are for the KAROO 2 and the KAROO 3. Now, a side note on that naming, Hammerhead have chosen to call the KAROO 3 just the KAROO. I'll call it the KAROO 3 because that's exactly what it is, and it's a pain in the ass trying to determine which features are for which KAROO device. Product naming is important. And with that, there's a lot of duplication of updates for both the KAROO 2 and the KAROO 3. Although in recent updates, we are seeing Hammerhead slowly roll out KAROO 3 only updates to those units. One of those KAROO 3 only updates is what I would consider the hero feature from recent months, and that is 2 advanced battery saver options, squeezing more life out of this unit between charging. Now today, I put the KAROO 3 with all of the battery savings enabled up against the Garmin Edge 1040 with no battery savings enabled. The results were very interesting, and I'll get to those a little later in the video. But first up, let's get through some interesting updates that I've packaged together from the last probably 2 or 3 months. Starting off with ride type. Hammerhead are now classifying the profile ride type. So for example, I have gravel there on screen, and third parties such as Strava should then classify anything recorded under here as gravel. But it doesn't quite work as expected. They state, your default bike and ride type on the KAROO must match that on third-party bike profiles. So if my default bike over on Strava is a gravel bike and that default assignment of ride type is gravel, then the ride type will be gravel. It shouldn't really worry about what this thing is doing. In fact, digging a little deeper into what they're doing for ride type, they're not even setting the subsport category on this. It's something I've talked about quite a lot on other head units that makes life really easy. Now, on a Garmin unit, if you have a gravel profile or a mountain bike profile or an e-bike profile, they'll set the subsport flag. I'll pull the Garmin flag up here. See, gravel is gravel. Today's ride on gravel, the subsport on this isn't gravel. And loading this into Strava on an account that doesn't have any bike profiles assigned to anything, it's not listed as gravel. So we've kind of started off on the wrong foot for new features. However, I'll show you where to set that. Go back to the home screen, profiles, gravel. Obviously there's routing preferences there, which is gravel for gravel, and default ride type, gravel. So road, e-bike, mountain bike, gravel, e-mountain bike, velomobile, all the things. And all the things beeping at me. I don't know what that was about. Those are what should be set in the subsport. But they're not. But anyway, you're across that now. It's for the KAROO 3 and the KAROO 2. Shit, this is just getting awkward. Over to something that's not awkward, the data field alignment. We've added the ability to configure the alignment of your data field values under settings. Data field design, you can now align your data field values for left, right, or center. Hammerhead, we're pretty strong on promoting this one. Let's have a look at how we do that. Back to settings here because it's system-wide, not profile only. So settings. And it's under data field design, which is just happens to be on the screen there where I scrolled to. Yeehaw. Okay, data field boundaries, also an option. Label size, large or small, data icons. Data field alignment, there we are. And the cool thing about the KAROO units is they'll give you an example on screen of what changes when you make the change. So if we want to go center, that's what it's going to look like. Pretty cool. Left goes over to the left. But to be honest, I think I'll keep it to the right. That looks neat enough for me. And that is data field alignment. Next up, one I tried to showcase while I was out riding my bike today, but I couldn't figure out where the option is. So we're all going to learn exactly where that setting is, and that is the radar sidebar alignment. Why is that important? Well, here in Australia, cars pass us on the right. Having the radar sidebar on the left doesn't really make much sense. It's configurable on the Garmins, the Elements, and now the Hammerheads. Well, at least the KAROO 2 and the KAROO 3. But it's not configured under the sensor setting, as I found out today. It's configured under settings, data field design, and you scroll down. So settings, data field design, we are there, scroll down, and there we are, radar alignment. Excellent, defaulting over to the left because that's where most of the world needs their cars to pass them on. Here in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, the UK, and a few other countries that I'm sure I'll get comments below about. Cars pass us on the right, handy to have it on the right. Let's set it over there to the right, and we get a warning message. Now, because the radar line is opaque and it doesn't squish the data fields over to the left a little more to get out of the way, it's pretty much going to screw things up if your data field is aligned to the left. The message there, we recommend changing your data field alignment to left or center when the radar is on the right, which is pretty disappointing. I'd like to see it probably be transparent or squish the data fields over to the left a little bit, like what we see happen on the Element units. So this is a little disappointing, although enough about my feelings. it is what it is. So let's go up and set data field alignment to center. I guess I'll learn to love that. Okay, cool. Those two things in place. That is, well, data field alignment. We've looped back to that. That is radar alignment. Let's have a look at that in action though. Let's go back to a gravel ride. I have my Varia radar. I'll pull up this screen here and put the radar into test mode without looking at the light. Press and hold 10 seconds. Oh, it's a disco. Here we go. Boom. One car over on the right. I've turned the tones off as well for this for now. One fast car over on the right. Two cars on the right. As you can see there, it does overlay whatever we have on those data fields. So there it is for radar sidebar alignment. I'll turn that off. We'll drop out. Radar disconnected. Always handy that the radar disconnected option comes up. If these things go flying off the back of your bike, you're going to know about it. Also, the low battery warnings are very handy as well, especially for group sets, but more on those in a few moments. Another change they've made is on the map screens. You can turn the data fields on or off with a quick key or a quick touch. Jumping to the map screen, and there's a new layers icon. Previously, that was the heat maps. If you had the Sunto heat maps to toggle on or off, dismiss on that. Okay, so what you're seeing now is you can pull that out, expand it out, and toggle your data fields on or off, however many you have on the map screen there. I just have 2, and they're centered. How about that? And you can also toggle on or off those heat maps as well, which don't really show much at this zoom level. Anyhow, a new layers icon there on the map. Oh, and I've covered this in another video. I think the zoom in and zoom out on the KAROO units, all KAROO units that is the best in the business. Double tap with one finger to zoom in, single tap with 2 fingers to zoom out. Very easy to do out on the road. So zooming in and zooming out, there's none of this happening. You can just double tap and single tap and it will do the thing. I love that part of it. Also of note, if you unlock it to move it around, the data fields will disappear now. Lots more going on in Melbourne than in Ballarat. Okay, so that's that one covered off. Let's have a look at, well, we'll get that off the table, place this back because it is a KAROO 3 only option. This is a recent hero feature they've rolled out. They state, we've added additional customization to battery save mode. You can now reduce the processing speed of the KAROO 3 and cap the max brightness to increase your battery life. We've also updated the battery life expectations of KAROO 3 to the stats as follows. Default ride mode, 15 plus hours. Battery save mode, 30 plus hours. Advanced battery savers, which is what I was using today, 35 plus hours. Added bonus in the changelog that I'll put there as well. They've added a number of optimizations to reduce time to first fix of GNSS acquisition on KAROO. This will improve the time it takes for the initial location fix once you boot up the KAROO 3. So with the battery life of the KAROO 3 being its Achilles heel, I was keen to test out these advanced or extreme battery save features. Now, unfortunately, you can't just enable the slower processing and the max brightness limitation without enabling the battery save mode as a whole. It'd be great if you could just toggle those on and just use the unit in semi-save mode. But no, you've got to use full battery save mode, which means the screen goes off. So today's test scenario, KAROO 3, all the battery save mode turned on to maximum, and the Edge 840 with no battery save mode turned on, other than auto brightness was turned on. It was a sunny day, so the brightness was pretty much all the way down on this. Now, I've not used battery save mode on the KAROO units before, and today was quite the experience. Now, with the screen timeout being a default of 35 seconds, I left it as is, started my ride, hit start, 35 seconds later, the screen goes off, as expected. But then I tapped the screen to turn it back on and nothing happened. I pressed a button to turn the screen back on and nothing happened. I pressed all 4 side buttons and nothing happened. I thought the unit had actually crashed. But no, that's not the case. The new power button on the KAROO 3 is what you need to press to wake it up. Manually, that is. It will wake up on a number of other things listed here, such as radar alert or navigation prompt and things like that. But if you want to just glance down and see your power numbers or see where you are on the map, you can't just touch the screen. You've got to effectively turn it back on. And after a second or two, it will turn back on. Okay, so now we're up to speed with how the sleep mode works and how the wake mode works. Once it is awake and you're fingering your way through whatever you're looking at, it times out and goes to sleep. Apparently that 35-second timeout starts as soon as you press that bottom button, and whatever else you do, it doesn't matter. That timeout doesn't reset. So here I am on the side of the trail today, going through a few options, and the screen goes to sleep on me. I really hope in the next update we see that when it's in battery save mode and you touch the screen, the timeout then resets and starts its 35-second countdown again. Kind of what I expected anyway. Might have been just a me thing. People do say I'm a bit picky. Anyhow, I do expect too much of this technology. Okay, no screen recording out on the ride today because that's going to affect the battery life. But let's look at the numbers of these things. So a 2-hour ride with the KAROO 3 with extreme battery save options on, we are left with 93% battery at the end of that ride. The Edge 1040 Solar with no battery save other than auto brightness still has 95% of battery. Now I know what you're thinking, it's not a fair fight, is it? This unit's a solar device, that's a non-solar. What the hell am I doing comparing these two? This is not equal. That's a cruel comparison. Well, you're lucky I didn't pull out the Dura for the test. Apparently this runs for 1,000 years on just candlelight. It's unfortunate this is a Let's discuss this another day. But look, let's wind back. Let's factor in the solar non-loss on this. I won't call it solar gain, I'll call it solar non-loss. 2754 on this unit today, nice sunny day. Let's call it 28 minutes. Look, I'll be generous and call it line ball with these units. This one in extreme battery save mode, which means the screen wasn't on for most of my ride. And this one in, well, standard normal mode. About 1 for battery drain. Now the end user experience, I could look down and see everything going on the Garmin. On this one, I had to press that bottom button. And no matter how much fingering I did, it'd go to sleep again in 35 seconds. Hammerhead, please fix that one. But let's move on. One thing I will address with these tests today was, what was the data recording like when this thing was in extreme battery save mode? Typically corners are cut, literally, with GPS averaging, maybe taking only every 5 seconds or 10 seconds, 15 seconds, something like that. But I can confirm, when connected to the same power meter, both of these units were pretty much 1 for 1.
As we all know, no video on this channel is complete without going to my favourite website on the internet, the DCR Analyzer tool, where we can compare, well, you know what it does. Let's have a quick look at what it has done today. KAROO 3 up against the Edge 1040 Solar. Now, most of this was in power save mode with the KAROO 3 extreme power save mode, connected to the Asioma Pro MX, and look, the data is as expected. Few slight differences, but that's what you expect on averaging power meters with two different head units. But no, 235, 235, it's the same power meter, but everything is looking effectively 1 for 1 there. Okay, all good with that. Cadence, same. Speed, no major differences here. Distance, again, almost 1 for 1 the whole way up, no separation. Elevation, they started off a little differently, but tracked pretty well the whole way along. Battery drain, now I'll get into the numbers in just a few moments, but just quickly having a look at the data that the Analyzer tool can pull out. They both started at 100%, and they finished at, as we saw before, it was 95 on the Edge, and the last data point there on the KAROO 3 was 93. The estimates here, 37.22 hours in the KAROO 3, and the Edge 1040 Solar 52.5 estimated. These are probably overshooting just a little bit given that the sample was only 2 hours long and there's not a lot of data points here. However, interesting to see, and it does align with the back of the napkin math of the KAROO 3 in extreme power save mode, still draining the battery a little quicker than the Edge 1040 Solar in standard mode. Rightio, let's look at the GPS data because this is where it may cut corners, as I said. But for everywhere I look, it's almost 1 for 1 spot on. So through a few forested sections. Now, to be honest, there's not really much to see. It's a pretty straight line. Let's find somewhere with a bit of a corner in it. Okay, they're doing some groundworks here. Look, no major Mario karting. It was an out and back, so I did ride 2 lines through there, so there will be 4 lines all up. Bit of corner cutting with the KAROO through here, but look, I am absolutely picking the peanuts out of that. Look, what we see when things average and get all wonky. I thought I'd spotted something here, but no, I did take a slight different line through here as a car was coming. No, that's good. That's good. What I was looking for here is just some extreme smoothing where when you take a corner or something like that, it just puts a straight line between and becomes very, well, almost pixelated. But as we're seeing here, that's looking fine. And just some quick confirmation of the overall numbers. So KAROO 3 in extreme power save mode, 198.12, 198.14 on the Edge 1040 Solar, both with the Pro MXs. Weighted power, very, very close. Max power, very close. Average heart rate, well, look, nothing out of the ordinary here. Slight difference with the Ascent, but again, 2 different head units. Look, call it a day. I'm pretty happy with the data that I'm seeing being recorded by the KAROO 3 in extreme power save mode.
So good news there on the data from GPS, also the power meter and any other sensor that was connected to this unit. When it's in extreme battery save mode, you're not going to get summarized data. Now, what does it mean for overall battery time for my test today? A quick back of the napkin calculation on that one, 28.5 hours. Give or take how many times this screen has to come on, I guess. That's effectively doubled the battery life of standard use on the KAROO 3. So I guess not bad. Anyhow, let's put a full stop to that battery testing. I would like to see those slower processing options though, system-wide outside of battery save mode, and also that auto brightness. I think that would really help out without entering into full battery save mode where things just shut off, the screen in particular. Okay, last thing today, I'll get the edge off the screen here and bring you back in because we'll talk about you too. Shimano Di2 Pairing. Now, if you have a Shimano Di2 group set or SRAM axis, it's very convenient to pair that group set to these head units to get things like low battery warnings for your rear derailleur, your front derailleur, and now your two levers, as well as overshift warnings, use of additional buttons to do cool things like playing music or laps or screens or do whatever you want, and also saving of gearing information. Look, all the things. It's pretty handy to have that connected to your head unit. Now, at this point in time, with the KAROO 3, if you have a Shimano Di2 system, the answer is no and no. No, because Hammerhead have not worked it out with Shimano, or Shimano haven't worked it out with Hammerhead to allow them to actually natively connect to their group sets. And no to KI2, which is a brilliant third-party add-on, unofficial of course, which can be sideloaded onto KAROO units to give you the best integration I've ever seen between electronic group sets and a head unit. It is absolutely brilliant. I've done a whole video on KI2, and it's now on version 8.1, but it doesn't work on the KAROO 3. And even if you do sideload it on the KAROO 3, you'll get this little warning right here. Not compatible. KI2 is not compatible with the new KAROO, the KAROO 3. Hammerhead decided to disable SDK support on the new KAROO, which I believe is needed to put the fields and things and for that app to interact with the profiles and present data to you. There is nothing we can do on our end to enable KI2. The only action is to keep asking Hammerhead. I won't list that as a call to action from me, but that's the message that pops up when you try and run KI2 on the KAROO 3. However, if you have the KAROO 2, also referred to as the KAROO 2, because that's what it is, it'll still work. I'll put links in the video description below to my video on KI2. It is absolutely brilliant and definitely worth checking out if you're a Shimano owner with a KAROO 2. Okay, so we will leave it there today. That's a wrap on all things that I've found interesting in the most recent updates to the KAROO units. Things have been pretty quiet from Hammerhead. I really thought they were going to hit the accelerator when this new hardware came out. Hasn't been the case. Things have been progressing pretty slowly, but I will keep an eye on things. And if something jumps out at me as being very interesting, I'll share it right here on the channel. To be across videos like that, hit subscribe, hit like if you found this informative. And again, thanks for watching.